Prejudice often poses as protocol. At a sun-beaten military base, a decorated white general scans the crowd during a public demonstration, eyes locking on a quiet black woman standing near the back. Civilian, unassuming, an easy target. He mocks her with practiced arrogance, hands her a rifle, and invites the crowd to laugh. What he didn't know was that she wasn't just another civilian, she was the military's most lethal sniper. The humiliation he planned was about to backfire, and when she stepped forward, everything he built began to quietly, completely unravel. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The morning sun crept through Maya Thompson's bedroom window as she stood before her mirror, methodically buttoning a crisp navy blouse. Her movements were precise, each motion calculated and smooth, habits carved deep by years of military discipline. The quiet of dawn wrapped around her like an old friend. She paused, catching sight of the small scar above her right eyebrow in the mirror's reflection. Her fingers brushed it briefly, remembering the night in Kandahar that left its mark. The memory flickered and faded. Like so many others, she kept locked away. The closet door stood open, revealing a row of neatly pressed civilian clothes. Hidden behind them, wrapped carefully in cloth, lay her old service rifle. She hadn't touched it in years, but she knew every scratch and dent on its surface as intimately as the lines on her palm. Maya checked her watch. 0600 hours. Old habits died hard. She still woke before sunrise, still planned her days with military precision. The invitation to Fort Reynolds's Veterans Day demonstration lay on her dresser, unremarkable among bills and junk mail. She'd registered under her married name, Thompson Carter. Though the marriage itself had ended years ago, some anonymity was worth keeping. In the kitchen, she made coffee with the same focus she once used to clean her weapon. The morning news droned quietly in the background as she gathered her things. Her hands moved automatically, checking for keys, phone, wallet, the civilian equivalent of gear inspection. The drive to Fort Reynolds took 45 minutes. Maya watched the familiar gates approach, her heart beating a steady rhythm against her ribs. How many times had she passed through similar gates, on bases across the world? Now she was just another civilian face in the crowd, and that suited her fine. The shooting range sprawled across the eastern edge of the base, freshly maintained for today's demonstration. Folding chairs faced the firing line where various weapons were displayed on clean tables. Camera crews set up their equipment while donors in expensive suits mingled with uniformed officers. Maya found a spot near the back, where shadows from the overhead canopy provided cover from the strengthening sun. She watched General Richard Caldwell work the crowd, his silver hair catching the light as he moved from group to group. His smile never wavered. His laugh carried just the right note of command and camaraderie. But Maya noticed things others might miss. The way Caldwell's smile tightened when speaking to a young Hispanic lieutenant, how he subtly interrupted the female major trying to share her combat experience. The slight edge in his voice when addressing the black sergeant manning the equipment table. "Ladies and gentlemen," Caldwell's voice boomed across the range. "Welcome to Fort Reynolds's annual Veterans Day demonstration." He stood tall, every inch the decorated general in his pristine uniform. "In my 35 years of service, I've witnessed the changing face of our military. Some changes have been necessary." His pause carried weight. Others have perhaps strayed from the traditions that made our forces great. Maya watched several older white officers nod in agreement. A young black lieutenant shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Today's demonstration will remind us of the discipline, the precision, the unwavering commitment to excellence that built America's military reputation. Caldwell gestured to the weapons arranged behind him. These aren't toys for social experiments. They're tools of war, meant for warriors. His gaze swept the crowd, pausing briefly on a group of female officers. We've seen a push for inclusion, for diversity. Another weighted pause. But the battlefield doesn't care about quotas or feelings. It demands excellence, period. Maya remained still, her face neutral as she observed. She recognized the careful dance of Caldwell's words, how he couched his prejudice in concerns about standards and tradition. It was a language she knew well, having faced it throughout her career. The morning progressed, with various demonstrations. Caldwell narrated each one, peppering his commentary with subtle digs at modern military culture. His eyes repeatedly scanned the crowd, seeking approval from certain faces while dismissing others. Then his gaze found Maya. She saw the moment he noticed her. A black woman in civilian clothes, standing quietly at the back. His eyes narrowed slightly, then widened with opportunity. Here was a chance to make his point. "Ma'am?" he called out, his voice carrying false warmth. "Yes, you in the navy blouse. Why don't you step forward?" Maya felt the crowd's attention shift. She moved with deliberate calm, her steps measured and silent, another habit from years of training. "We have quite a diverse audience today," Caldwell announced, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Perhaps our civilian guest would like to try her hand." He gestured to the weapon on the demonstration table. "Show us how it's done?" Laughter rippled through certain parts of the crowd. Caldwell's smile widened. "Even housewives want to play Rambo these days," he added, drawing more chuckles. "Ma'am, I hope you brought a purse to match that weapon." Maya stood perfectly still, her face composed. She'd weathered far worse than this man's attempt at public humiliation. Behind her calm exterior, years of combat experience and countless confirmed kills waited silently, like a loaded weapon. Maya stepped forward, her movements fluid and unhurried. The morning sun cast long shadows across the firing range as she approached the demonstration table. General Caldwell's smirk remained fixed, his eyes gleaming with anticipated triumph. "Perhaps we should start with something simpler," he suggested, reaching for a basic training rifle. "This isn't like shooting tin cans in the backyard." More laughter rippled through his supporters in the crowd. Maya noticed several female officers exchanging glances, their faces tight with familiar frustration. "The standard-issue M4 will do fine," Maya said quietly, her voice carrying unexpected authority. The general's eyebrows lifted slightly at her tone. "Well then," Caldwell announced to the crowd, "let's see what our civilian guest can manage. The target's set at 300 yards, standard qualifying distance." He turned to Maya with exaggerated concern. "Don't feel pressured to hit the target. Just getting comfortable with the weapon would be admirable." Maya lifted the rifle, her hands automatically finding their familiar positions. The weight felt like greeting an old friend. She checked the chamber, magazine, and sights with swift, practiced movements that made several veterans in the crowd lean forward with sudden interest. "Ma'am," Caldwell interjected, "the safety is disengaged," Maya finished, her eyes already focused downrange, round-chambered. "Wind speed approximately 8 knots from the northwest." Her voice was professional, detached, as if she were alone on the range. The general's smile faltered slightly. Behind him, Captain Lucas watched with growing curiosity, his pen hovering above his ever-present notebook. Maya settled into position, her breathing slowing naturally. The world narrowed to the sight picture, the wind, and the target. Just like thousands of times before, in places she never officially visited, taking shots that never officially happened. The first round cracked across the range, dead center. The second followed immediately. Same hole. Third shot. Fourth. Fifth. Perfect grouping. All touching. Silence fell over the crowd. Maya efficiently reloaded, her movements smooth as water. Without pausing, she engaged the more distant targets, 500 yards, 700 yards, 900 yards. Each shot found its mark with devastating precision. "That's," Caldwell started, his voice strange. "That's impossible at this distance with standard equipment." Maya continued firing, her expression unchanged. Each impact echoed her calm confidence, each bullet drilling through the exact center of increasingly difficult targets. She wasn't just shooting, she was conducting a masterclass in precision marksmanship. The crowd had gone from amused to stunned. Veterans nudged each other, whispering. Several pulled out phones, recording the demonstration. A retired sergeant major in the front row slowly removed his hat, recognition dawning on his weathered face. "Whoa," someone muttered. "That's not luck. That's—" Maya finished the final round, engaged the safety, and efficiently cleared the weapon. The entire sequence had taken less than 3 minutes. She'd fired 30 rounds, 30 perfect shots, multiple distance records for the range, broken in a single casual demonstration. "Thank you for the opportunity, General," Maya said quietly, stepping back from the firing line. Her voice carried clearly in the shocked silence. Caldwell's face had drained of color. He stared at the distant targets, then at Maya, his jaw working silently. The crowd's murmurs grew louder as range officers reported back the scoring. Perfect accuracy at distances that should have been impossible with standard gear. "Who?" Caldwell started, then caught himself. "That is, what's your background with firearms, Ms. Thompson?" Maya supplied calmly. "And I learned on the job." Recognition flickered across several faces in the crowd. A young reporter fumbled with her phone, frantically typing. Captain Lucas, still standing behind the general, went very still, his eyes widening with sudden understanding. "Thompson?" someone repeated. "Wait, Maya Thompson?" The whispers spread like fire through dry grass. "Phantom. That's Phantom. The sniper from Omega-6? Most confirmed kills in—" Thought she was dead. 300 confirmed at night. Caldwell's face shifted through several emotions. Disbelief, recognition, and finally, something darker. His hands clenched briefly at his sides before he forced them to relax. "Well," he managed, his voice tight. "Quite a surprise. We weren't aware we had such distinguished guests." His attempt at a gracious smile looked more like a grimace. "Thank you for the demonstration, Ms. Thompson." Maya nodded once, then quietly retreated to her place at the back of the crowd. The rest of the demonstration proceeded, but few paid attention to Caldwell now. All eyes kept drifting to the unassuming woman in the navy blouse who had just shattered every range record without breaking a sweat. As the crowd began to disperse, Caldwell pulled Captain Lucas aside, his fingers digging into the younger officer's arm. "Find out everything," he hissed, eyes fixed on Maya's departing figure. Her current status, her clearances, her missions, everything, especially anything classified or redacted. "I want to know why she's here and what game she's playing." "Yes, sir," Lucas replied, watching Maya disappear into the parking lot. His hand touched the notebook in his pocket, where he'd written down every detail of her impossible shooting demonstration. General Caldwell sat in his dimly lit office, a glass of bourbon untouched on his desk. The evening shadows stretched across stacks of personnel files and classified documents. His fingers traced the edge of a worn photograph, a young soldier in desert camouflage, smiling broadly at the camera. A knock at the door broke his reverie. "Enter." Captain Lucas stepped inside, his arms full of folders. The captain's usually composed face showed signs of strain. "Sir, I have the information you requested about Maya Thompson." "Report," Caldwell commanded, carefully returning the photograph to his desk drawer. "She's—" Lucas hesitated, setting the files down. "She's Phantom, sir. The legendary sniper from Omega Task Force 6. Over 300 confirmed eliminations, most at night or in extreme conditions. She holds 17 distance records that are still classified. Her success rate in high-risk operations was unprecedented." Caldwell's hand tightened on his armrest. "Continue." "She disappeared from active duty 3 years ago, after—" Lucas shuffled through papers, then stopped abruptly. His face went pale as he read something on the page before him. "After what, Captain?" Caldwell's voice was dangerously quiet. "Sir, Lucas swallowed hard. "Operation Shadowfall, Northern Afghanistan. She was the primary shooter in an operation targeting insurgent leadership. The mission was—" He looked up, meeting Caldwell's increasingly rigid stare. "The mission was classified immediately afterward. All records sealed." The general stood slowly, his face cast in shadow. "Operation Shadowfall," he repeated, the words like ice. "December 14th? "Yes, sir. The target was a high-value combatant embedded with local militia. The shot was taken at—" Lucas stopped again, watching his superior officer's expression darken. "Sir, this can't be—" 2,100 meters, Caldwell finished. "Through a sandstorm. At night." His voice cracked slightly. "One shot. Clean kill." The memory crashed over him like a wave. He was back in his command center, receiving the report. A successful elimination of an enemy combatant. Routine paperwork, until the identification came through. His son's dog tags found on the body. The truth that James, his only child, had defected months earlier, joining the very forces they were fighting. "Sir?" Lucas's voice seemed distant. "There's more. Her record indicates she was never informed of the target's identity. The entire operation was buried to protect—" He trailed off, understanding dawning in his eyes. "To protect the family name," Caldwell said bitterly. "To hide the shame of a general's son turning traitor." He moved to the window, staring out at the darkening base. "Do you know what it's like, Captain, to arrange your own son's burial while pretending he died a hero? To accept condolences for a death you ordered covered up?" The scene played out in his mind. Maya Thompson, the faceless phantom, setting up her shot in the howling wind. His son, James, masked and armed, moving with the enemy fighters. The single crack of a rifle echoing across the mountains. A father's world ending with a signature on a classified report. "She never knew," Lucas said quietly. "According to these files, she still doesn't know. The mission details remain sealed. And now she appears at my range," Caldwell growled, showing off her skills like some circus performer. He turned back to his desk, pulling out more files. 3 years I've waited. 3 years watching her disappear into civilian life while my son lies in the ground. His hands moved through papers with desperate energy. She's vulnerable now. Out of the system. No active clearances or protections. A cruel smile touched his lips. And she just put herself back in the spotlight. "Sir," Lucas ventured carefully, "what are you planning?" Caldwell pulled out his phone, scrolling through contacts. "There are still plenty of friends in high places who owe me favors. Friends who understand the importance of protecting the reputation of command." His fingers flew over the keypad, sending messages. It's time Ms. Thompson learned the cost of her perfect shot. He looked up at Lucas, his eyes hard. "I want every classified operation she ever ran scrutinized, every kill examined, every decision questioned. Find me something, anything, that can be twisted. I want her credibility destroyed so thoroughly that no one will ever speak her name with respect again." "But, sir, her record is exemplary. The shots were all legitimate combat." "Then we'll make our own truth." Caldwell slammed his hand on the desk. She took my son from me, ended my bloodline, and she did it with the same casual efficiency she showed today. He straightened his uniform, regaining composure. I won't rest until she loses everything she values. Her reputation, her honor, her peace. Lucas stood stiffly, his face carefully neutral. Yes, sir. What should I do with these files? Leave them. And Lucas? Caldwell's voice carried a clear warning. This conversation never happened. As far as anyone knows, I'm simply conducting a routine review of past operations. Understood? Understood, sir. Lucas placed the files on the desk and left quietly, closing the door behind him. Caldwell sank back into his chair, pulling out the photograph once more. His son's young face smiled up at him, full of promise and pride. Before the disillusionment, before the betrayal, before a sniper's bullet ended any chance of redemption. You'll pay for this, Thompson, he whispered to the empty room. I'll make sure of it. Morning sunlight streamed through Maya Thompson's kitchen window, casting warm patterns across her granite countertop. She inhaled deeply, savoring the rich aroma of her coffee. These quiet moments had become precious since leaving active duty, a luxury she never had during her years of pre-dawn deployments and midnight operations. Her small suburban home was nothing fancy, but it was hers. Clean lines, minimal decoration, and perfect sight lines to all entry points. Old habits died hard. A few carefully chosen photos dotted the walls. Her unit, graduation day, quiet moments with fellow soldiers. No images from her missions. Those memories lived only in her mind. Maya's phone buzzed, disrupting her peaceful routine. A text from an unknown number. Watch your 6 brass moving pieces. She frowned, setting down her coffee mug. The message bore the hallmarks of her old intelligence network. Brief, coded, urgent. Another buzz. Caldwell pulling files, all of them. Her jaw tightened. The shooting range incident had clearly rattled the general more than she'd thought. Maya had hoped to slip back into anonymity after the demonstration, but clearly that wasn't happening. A third message arrived, this one from a different number. They're digging deep. Afghanistan. All sealed ops. Be ready. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she set the phone down. Afghanistan. The word alone brought back a flood of sensations. The weight of her rifle, the bite of mountain wind, the absolute focus required for impossible shots. She'd been the best, and that had come with a price. Every mission, every trigger pull, carried consequences she'd learned to live with. But something about Caldwell's sudden interest in her past set off warning bells. His racism had been obvious at the range, but this felt different, more personal, more dangerous. Her laptop chimed with an email notification. Opening it revealed a message from a military news blog requesting comment on previously undisclosed operations and allegations of misconduct. Her stomach churned. Someone was already feeding stories to the press. Maya moved to her study, where a locked cabinet held her most important documents. Inside, organized with military precision, were copies of every mission report she'd been allowed to keep. Her fingers traced the folders until she found what she needed. Her official separation papers, signed and certified. Everything by the book. Everything legal. But legality might not matter if someone powerful enough wanted to rewrite history. Another text. Watch the networks. Stories dropping soon. Not good ones. Maya paced her living room, muscle memory from countless strategy sessions kicking in. She needed intel. Needed to understand what she was up against. More importantly, she needed guidance from someone who understood the politics of command. Her fingers hovered over her phone, scrolling to a number she hadn't called in months. Colonel Eleanor Brooks had been more than a commanding officer. She'd been a mentor, a shield against institutional racism, and eventually, a friend. If anyone could help navigate these waters, it would be Brooks. Maya hesitated. Calling meant pulling Brooks into whatever storm was brewing. The colonel had earned her peaceful retirement, her quiet life teaching at the War College, but another glance at the growing list of warnings decided her. The phone rang 3 times before Brooks answered. "This is an unexpected pleasure." The colonel's warm voice carried its usual calm authority. "Though I suspect this isn't a social call." "No, ma'am." Maya's military bearing returned automatically. "I need your counsel. Something's happening with General Caldwell." A pause. "The shooting range incident? You heard about that?" Word travels fast in certain circles. Brooks's tone grew serious. "What else is happening?" Maya detailed the warnings, the press inquiries, the sudden interest in classified missions. "They're digging into Afghanistan, ma'am. All of it." "I was afraid of this," Brooks sighed. "Caldwell's reputation for holding grudges is legendary, and he's got friends in every corner of the Pentagon. What should I do?" "First, don't panic. You did nothing wrong on any operation. I know because I reviewed most of them personally." Brooks paused. "Can you come to my office?" "This isn't a conversation for phones." Maya glanced at her watch. "I can be there in 2 hours." "Good. And Maya?" Brooks's voice softened. "Whatever's coming, you're not alone. Remember that." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." Maya ended the call and moved quickly to her bedroom. She packed a small go-bag, another old habit, and checked her home security system. The morning peace had evaporated, replaced by the familiar tension of approaching conflict. Her phone buzzed one final time. "Multiple inquiries into Shadow Fall. Repeat, Shadow Fall." Maya froze. That mission name. Something about it tugged at her memory, but the details remained classified, even from her. She'd never known why. Now, years later, it seemed those secrets were about to surface. She grabbed her keys and bag, heading for the door. The quiet life she'd built was unraveling, and she needed answers. Colonel Brooks would help her understand what she was facing, and, more importantly, why a 3-year-old mission had suddenly become so important to a general with a grudge. Colonel Brooks's home sat nestled against thick woods, far from prying eyes. Maya pulled her car into the long gravel driveway, noting the strategic placement of security cameras disguised as landscape lighting. Some habits never changed, even in retirement. The colonial-style house looked warm and inviting, but Maya's trained eye caught the reinforced windows and steel-core door. Brooks answered her knock, wearing casual clothes, a far cry from her usual pressed uniform, but her bearing remained unmistakably military. "Come in quickly," Brooks ushered her inside. "I've swept for devices this morning. We're clean." Maya followed her mentor through a comfortable living room into a wood-paneled study. Maps and military commendations lined the walls. A collection of challenge coins gleamed in a display case. Brooks gestured to a leather armchair, while she closed the heavy door. "I've made some calls," Brooks said, settling behind her desk. "The chatter about you is intensifying. Caldwell's people are pulling every file with your name on it." Maya leaned forward. "Why now?" The range incident was embarrassing, but hardly worth this level of attention. Brooks's expression darkened. "It's not about the range. This goes deeper." She opened a drawer and withdrew a thick folder. "What do you remember about Operation Shadowfall?" "Not much. High-value target elimination in the Hindu Kush. Most details were classified above my clearance, even though I was the shooter." Maya frowned. "Why?" "Because that mission changed everything, for you and for Caldwell." Brooks spread several documents across her desk. "The target you eliminated that day, he wasn't just another insurgent. He was James Caldwell, the general's son." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. What? James deserted his post 2 years earlier, radicalized and bitter. He joined the militia we were tracking, helped train their fighters. Brooks's voice was gentle. The brass buried it to protect Caldwell's reputation. Even you weren't told who you'd actually killed. My God. Maya's hands trembled slightly. Does Caldwell know I was the shooter? He does now. That's why he's digging. He's not just a racist, targeting a black female soldier who embarrassed him. He's a grieving father who finally found his son's killer. Maya stood, pacing the study. But his son was a traitor. He was actively fighting against American forces. Doesn't matter to Caldwell. In his mind, you murdered his boy. Brooks watched her former subordinate carefully. He's going to come after you hard. He's already laying the groundwork. The press inquiries, Maya realized. He's going to twist the mission details. Exactly. Paint you as reckless, unstable, question your judgment, suggest you killed an unarmed man. Brooks grimaced. He's got enough rank to make it stick, unless we can prove otherwise. Do we have proof? The real mission files? Some. I kept copies of key documents, against regulations. Brooks patted the folder. But Caldwell has more resources, more connections. She was cut off by Maya's phone buzzing urgently. Then Brooks's phone chimed. Then her landline rang. Maya grabbed her phone first, opening a news alert. Her blood ran cold as she read the headline, "Rogue Sniper, Accused of Unauthorized Kills." Brooks flipped on a wall-mounted TV. Every news channel carried the same story. Leaked classified documents suggesting Maya had gone beyond mission parameters, taken unnecessary shots, demonstrated concerning patterns of behavior. It's starting, Brooks said grimly. He's controlling the narrative. Maya watched in horror as military analysts debated her psychological state, questioning her fitness for duty. Photos from her service record flashed across the screen, along with heavily redacted mission reports carefully selected to paint the worst possible picture. "They're making me look like a monster," she whispered. "This is just the beginning," Brooks warned. "He'll release information in waves, each one worse than the last. Death by 1,000 cuts." Maya's phone buzzed again, more reporters requesting comment. Her social media notifications exploded as old colleagues and complete strangers reacted to the news. "What do I do?" she asked, feeling the walls of her carefully constructed civilian life crumbling around her. Brooks stood, placing a steadying hand on Maya's shoulder. "First, you stay here tonight. It's secure, and reporters won't find you. Second, we start gathering our own evidence. I've still got friends in intelligence who owe me favors. And third, we prepare for war." Brooks's voice hardened. "Caldwell wants to destroy you to avenge his traitor son. We're not going to let that happen." Maya nodded slowly, watching another news channel join the feeding frenzy. Her phone kept buzzing with calls she couldn't answer. Somewhere in the Pentagon, she knew Caldwell was watching too, finally taking his revenge. The peaceful morning coffee in her kitchen seemed a lifetime ago. She was back in combat mode, only this time the enemy wasn't across a valley. He was in command of the very institution she'd served so faithfully. "They'll want a statement," she said quietly. "Not yet," Brooks cautioned. "Let Caldwell play his hand first. We need to know exactly what he's got before we move." Maya sank back into the leather chair, feeling the weight of secrets and lies settling onto her shoulders. Through the study window, she could see the sun setting behind the trees. Night was falling, and with it, the last traces of her quiet life disappeared into shadow. Dawn crept through the study windows, painting Brooks' war room in pale gray light. Maya hadn't slept, spending the night watching her reputation unravel across every major news network. Empty coffee cups littered the desk between stacks of classified documents, and hastily scribbled notes. Brooks entered, already dressed in crisp civilian clothes, carrying fresh coffee and a tablet. Morning news cycle's worse. They're running with the unstable warrior angle hard. Maya rubbed her tired eyes. How many interviews have they run? 17. All military analysts questioning your psychological state, your decision-making under pressure. Brooks handed Maya a coffee. They're building a pattern. The quiet, troubled sniper who couldn't handle the pressure. And Caldwell? Made a brief statement expressing deep concern about the revelations. Brooks's lip curled in disgust. Played it perfectly. More in sorrow than anger. Called for a full investigation while praising your early service record. Maya scrolled through her phone. Hundreds of missed calls. Thousands of social media notifications. Former squadmates asking what was happening. Reporters demanding comments. Death threats from anonymous accounts. We need to change the narrative, Brooks said, settling into her chair. Right now, Caldwell's controlling the story. Every hour we stay silent, his version becomes more entrenched. What's our play? Brooks tapped her tablet. Global News Network wants you for their evening panel. Live interview, prime time slot. They're promising fair coverage, tough but balanced questions. Maya's stomach tightened. It's probably a trap. Almost certainly. But it's also our best shot at reaching millions with your side of the story. Brooks leaned forward. The longer you stay silent, the more guilty you look. Maya stood, pacing the study. Her reflection caught in the window. Dark circles under her eyes, tension in her jaw. I'm not good with cameras, or talking about myself. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Brooks pulled up the show's format. 30 minutes, split between 3 segments. They'll start with your background, move to the recent allegations, then open discussion. And Caldwell's people will be watching every word, ready to twist anything I say. Yes, but so will thousands of veterans who served with you, who know your character. Brooks's voice softened. Maya, you can't hide from this. Caldwell's counting on you staying quiet, letting shame and fear keep you in the shadows. Maya stopped at the wall of commendations, touching one particular medal, the one she'd earned on that fateful mission. The mission that killed Caldwell's son. The weight of that secret pressed down on her chest. If I do this, she said slowly, there's no going back. My private life is over. Your private life ended the moment Caldwell identified you, Brooks countered. Now you choose. Let him destroy you piece by piece, or stand and fight. Maya closed her eyes, remembering other moments of decision. The crack of gunfire in mountain passes, the weight of her rifle, the split-second choices that meant life or death. This felt the same, the calm clarity of combat focus settling over her. Set up the interview, she said finally. But I need you to prep me. Every possible question, every angle they might take. Brooks nodded, already making calls. The next hours passed in intense preparation. They analyzed recent interviews, identifying likely attack points. Brooks played devil's advocate, throwing the hardest questions she could imagine, while Maya practiced staying calm, choosing words carefully. Remember, Brooks coached, they'll try to provoke an emotional response. Stay measured. Let your record speak for itself. If they push about specific missions, cite classification protocols. Maya changed clothes 3 times, finally settling on a simple blue blazer. Professional but not too military. She avoided makeup, wanting to appear natural and honest. Every choice felt weighted with significance. The drive to the studio passed in tense silence. Maya watched the city scroll past, remembering easier days when she was just another veteran trying to build a quiet life. Now, camera crews waited outside her apartment. Online forums dissected her every past mission. Old wounds she'd thought long healed began to throb. The studio entrance was crowded with reporters. Maya kept her head high as Brooks guided her through the gauntlet of shouted questions and flashing cameras. Inside, producers whispered and pointed. Makeup artists hovered nervously, unsure how to approach her. In the green room, Maya caught fragments of the current segment. Military experts analyzing her psychological evaluations, speculating about PTSD and combat stress. Her hands wanted to shake. She made them still. 5 minutes, a producer announced, not quite meeting her eyes. Brooks squeezed her shoulder. Remember who you are. Remember what's true. Maya nodded, touching the small medallion in her pocket, a gift from her first commanding officer. Stay focused. Stay calm. Just like any other mission. But as she followed the floor director toward the studio, she spotted familiar faces in the production booth. Former military public affairs officers now working in media. Caldwell's network, positioned perfectly to shape the narrative. The trap was set, just as she'd expected. Now she had to walk into it willingly, trusting her training and her truth to see her through. The studio lights blazed hot as Maya settled into the interview chair. 3 panelists faced her: a retired colonel, a military psychologist, and a defense policy expert. Their expressions ranged from skeptical to openly hostile. The host, Angela Chen, adjusted her earpiece. We're live in 5, 4, 3. Maya focused on her breathing, just as she would before taking a shot. The red recording light blinked on. Good evening. Tonight, we examine shocking allegations about decorated Army sniper Maya Thompson. Joining us is Thompson herself, breaking her silence on claims of reckless conduct and psychological instability during classified operations. Angela turned to Maya, her smile sharp. Ms. Thompson, how do you respond to reports questioning your mental fitness during active duty? Maya met her gaze steadily. I appreciate the question, Angela. My service record includes 27 psychological evaluations over 8 years. All cleared me for duty. Those records are available to appropriate authorities. The retired colonel, Matthews, leaned forward. Sources suggest multiple incidents of unauthorized engagement without proper clearance. Care to explain? I'm afraid those mission details remain classified, Maya replied evenly. What I can say is that every shot I took was authorized through proper channels and documented thoroughly. Convenient to hide behind classification, the psychologist Dr. Warner said. But your behavior since leaving service, isolation, avoiding public appearances, suggests classic trauma response patterns. Maya allowed a small smile. Or perhaps it suggests someone who values privacy and quiet. Not everyone needs a spotlight, Doctor. The defense expert, Harrison, shuffled papers. We have accounts from unnamed sources describing erratic behavior, mood swings. Unnamed sources, Maya interrupted quietly. Like the ones claiming I failed weapons qualifications? Those records are public. Anyone can verify my scores were consistently top tier. Angela jumped in. You're saying these reports are false? I'm saying facts matter more than anonymous claims. Maya's voice remained calm but carried clearly. My record shows 8 years of exemplary service, over 200 successful missions, 47 commendations, 0 disciplinary actions. Doctor, Warner pressed harder. Decorated soldiers can still suffer mental breaks. The pressure of your role was intense, Maya finished. Like thousands of other service members, I dealt with that pressure through training, discipline, and support from my unit. I never fired a shot I wasn't prepared to justify. The camera caught Maya's steady gaze, her composed demeanor contrasting sharply with the increasingly frustrated panel. Viewers noticed. Social media began lighting up. In his home study, Caldwell watched the interview with growing rage. He had expected Maya to appear defensive, unstable. Instead, she was systematically dismantling every attack with quiet confidence. Back in the studio, Matthews tried a new angle. Your sudden public reappearance at Fort Reynolds. Was that a calculated move? I was invited as a civilian guest, Maya said. I didn't intend to shoot that day. When challenged, I demonstrated the skills I was trained to use, nothing more. Yet you chose to humiliate a decorated general. I chose to show respect by performing to the best of my ability, Maya corrected. Would doing less have shown proper respect for the uniform? The question hung in the air. Online comments exploded with support. Your supporters claim these allegations are racially motivated, Angela said carefully. Your response? Maya paused, considering. I prefer to be judged by my actions and my record. Those speak clearly enough. And the leaked mission reports? Harrison demanded. Are fragments without context, selected to paint a specific picture. Maya's voice carried quiet authority. I welcome a full review of my service by appropriate authorities. Every shot, every decision, every order followed. Dr. Warner tried one last time. Your isolation since leaving service was a personal choice to live quietly and serve my community in other ways, Maya said. Until recent events forced me to defend my reputation, I was content out of the spotlight. I still am. The host glanced at her tablet, clearly seeing the overwhelming viewer response. We're almost out of time. Any final statement? Maya looked directly into the camera. I served with honor. I followed my training. I did my duty. Those aren't just words to me. They're the foundation of every choice I made in uniform. I'm proud of my service, and I stand by my record. The red light blinked off. In the sudden quiet, even the hostile panelists looked somewhat chastened. The producer's voice crackled through Angela's earpiece. Viewer numbers were breaking records. Maya stood, politely thanking the host. As she left the studio, her phone buzzed constantly with messages of support. Veterans groups were sharing her service photos. Military forums dissected her calm responses. Social media exploded with clips of her measured takedown of each accusation. In his study, Caldwell hurled his whiskey glass against the wall. The interview had backfired spectacularly. Instead of appearing unstable, Maya had shown herself to be everything he wasn't: controlled, professional, and unshakable under fire. Brooks waited by the car, grinning. You just gained about 1 million supporters. Twitter's going crazy. Maya exhaled slowly, the tension finally leaving her shoulders. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's the most powerful weapon of all. Brooks showed her the trending hashtags. Is Stand with Maya and Phantom Speaks leading the charts. The tide had turned. But Maya knew better than to celebrate yet. Caldwell would be planning his next move, and it would be desperate. General Caldwell paced his office, tie loosened, collar unbuttoned. The late-night Pentagon corridors outside were empty. His computer screen showed endless social media posts supporting Maya, each one stoking his fury. To hell with her, he muttered, running shaking hands through his silver hair. He jabbed the intercom. Lucas, get in here. Captain Lucas entered, looking exhausted. Dark circles ringed his eyes from hours of damage control. Sir, the interview footage. I saw it. Caldwell slammed his fist on the desk. She played it perfectly. Too perfectly. He pulled up his private email, fingers stabbing at keys. Remember that contractor group I mentioned? The ones specializing in digital manipulation? Lucas shifted uncomfortably. Sir, that's extremely risky. What's risky is letting that woman destroy everything I've built. Caldwell's voice cracked with desperation. My reputation, my legacy, all of it hinges on discrediting her before she digs deeper. He opened an encrypted file containing classified helmet cam footage from Maya's missions. We have the raw material right here. All we need is the right adjustments. General, fabricating evidence is exactly what we need. Caldwell's eyes had a dangerous gleam. The public loves her now? Let's see how they feel when they watch her gun down an innocent teenager. His fingers flew across the keyboard, sending the footage to an anonymous email address. Our friends will handle the technical side. The story writes itself. Stressed soldier snaps, mistakes civilian for combatant, covers it up. Lucas watched his commander's descent into obsession with growing unease. The general had barely slept since Maya's TV appearance, consumed by plots for revenge. Timeline? Lucas asked quietly. Hours. They're very good. Caldwell pulled up a news contact list. When it hits, we leak it simultaneously to multiple outlets. Maximum exposure. No time for fact-checking. The damage will be done before anyone can verify authenticity. In a dark room across the city, tech experts began their work. Original footage showed Maya taking down an armed insurgent. Frame by frame, they altered the weapon into a schoolbook. Combat gear transformed into civilian clothes. Adult features softened into teenage innocence. Audio engineers modified gunfire and combat chatter into peaceful street sounds, punctuated by a child's scream. Background elements shifted. Marketplace replacing military compound, peaceful morning replacing firefight. Caldwell received the finished product at 3 a.m. His hands trembled as he watched. The quality was flawless. Every pixel crafted to destroy Maya Thompson's life. Beautiful, he whispered, hitting send on pre-written press releases. Dawn broke over the city. Maya woke to her phone exploding with notifications. The video had gone viral overnight, shared millions of times with horrified comments. Breaking. Shocking footage shows decorated sniper killing unarmed teen. War crime cover-up exposed. Thompson's dark secret. Military investigating execution of civilian by elite soldier. Maya watched in stunned silence as her world collapsed. The footage looked real, every detail designed to convince. Her social media flooded with hate messages and death threats. Brooks called, voice urgent. Maya, turn on the news. Now. Every channel showed the same images. Her in combat gear, the supposed teenager walking peacefully, the shot, the fall. Expert after expert discussed video authenticity. Former supporters denounced her. Protesters gathered outside her home. It's fake, Maya said numbly. That mission. The target was armed, confirmed hostile. I know, Brooks replied. But disproving a perfect deepfake takes time. Time you don't have right now. Maya's security system chimed. Cameras showed people approaching her house, some carrying signs, others looking far more threatening. Get out of there, Brooks ordered. Use the back exit plan we discussed. Come to my place. It's secure and off the grid. Maya grabbed her pre-packed emergency bag, muscle memory from combat training taking over. Through her window, she saw more vehicles arriving. Media vans mixed with angry civilians. She slipped out through her garage's concealed door, just as the first rocks hit her windows. The hidden path through her neighbor's yard led to a service alley where an unmarked car waited. Her phone buzzed constantly with calls from reporters, death threats, old colleagues demanding explanations. She turned it off. The car wound through back roads, avoiding main streets where someone might recognize her. Maya sat silent, mind racing through options. The video was technically perfect, but there had to be proof of tampering. Brooks's house sat isolated in dense woods, protected by serious security. Maya found her mentor waiting at the reinforced door. I have calls out to every digital forensics expert I know, Brooks said, ushering her inside. We'll prove it's fake, but right now, you need to disappear. Maya moved through the familiar safe house on autopilot, stowing her gear in the designated room. Through bulletproof windows, she watched the sun rise on a world that once again saw her as a monster. In his office, Caldwell watched the chaos unfold with savage satisfaction. Protesters filled the streets. Maya's supporters fell silent or turned against her. News channels ran the footage on loop, each viewing cementing its truth in the public mind. "Let's see you talk your way out of this one," he whispered to Maya's image on his screen. His revenge was complete. Her reputation lay in ruins, her life destroyed. All he had to do was watch it burn. The morning sun painted Brooks's living room in soft amber hues. Maya sat motionless on the couch, staring at her hands. Her phone lay silent on the coffee table, powered off to escape the flood of hatred pouring through it. Brooks settled beside her, pressing a steaming mug of coffee into her hands. "Drink. You need your strength." Maya took a mechanical sip. All those years of service, every mission, every shot, perfect record. Gone in one night? Not gone. Brooks's voice carried the same steady authority that had guided Maya through her darkest combat moments. Changed, yes. Challenged, absolutely. But not gone. Maya set down the untouched coffee. "You saw the video. They'll believe what they see. People believe what they're told to believe." Brooks leaned forward, her eyes intense. "That's why we need to show them the truth. The real footage exists. In the most secure military archive facility in Virginia." Maya gave a bitter laugh. "Might as well be on the moon." Brooks pulled out a worn leather notebook, opening it to reveal detailed facility schematics. "Fort Marshall's digital archives. I helped design their security protocols before retirement." Maya's sniper training kicked in automatically, analyzing entry points, guard rotations, blind spots. Even with inside knowledge, it's practically impossible to access without clearance. Practically. Brooks smiled. "But you're not just anyone. You're Phantom." The nickname sparked something in Maya's chest. Not pride, but purpose. She stood, pacing the room as her tactical mind engaged. The footage would be in the classified operations wing. Biometric locks, armed guards, motion sensors, and a fatal flaw. Brooks flipped pages, revealing more detailed notes. The backup power system. Once every 3 months, they run a diagnostic that forces a temporary reboot of all security systems, including the biometric locks. Maya stopped pacing. "When?" "Tomorrow night, 0200 hours. Systems down for exactly 7 minutes while generators cycle." 7 minutes? Maya's voice was thoughtful. "That's barely enough time to get in and out." "No." Brooks stood, her expression grave. "But it's enough time to access the central server and create a remote backdoor. One that would let us retrieve the footage later, undetected." Maya studied the schematics with new intensity. Guards still maintain physical security during power transitions. "We'd need a distraction." "Already arranged." Brooks pulled out her phone, showing a series of text messages. "Some old friends owe me favors. There'll be an incident at the main gate requiring full security response." Maya traced potential routes through the facility. Years of sniper training had taught her to see paths others missed. This maintenance tunnel. It leads directly under the server room. Officially sealed since '99. Brooks nodded approvingly. Unofficially, still accessible if you know where to look. Maya felt her pulse quicken. Not with fear, but with the familiar focus of mission planning. "I'll need equipment. Specialized tools. Check the garage." Brooks handed her a key. "Third storage locker from the left. I keep a few things, just in case." The garage was climate-controlled, lined with innocent-looking storage units. Maya opened the specified locker and caught her breath. Inside lay a complete tactical kit. Black fatigues, night vision gear, climbing equipment, and, most importantly, her old custom sniper rifle. She lifted the weapon reverently. The familiar weight centered her, like greeting an old friend. Every scratch and wear mark told a story of missions accomplished, lives saved, duty done. "I had it maintained," Brooks said from the doorway. "Just needed oil and a new scope." Maya ran practiced hands over the rifle, checking every component. "This is beyond risky. If we're caught, if we do nothing, Caldwell wins." Brooks's voice hardened. "He's counting on you hiding, on you breaking." "Are you broken, soldier?" "No, ma'am." The response was automatic, but Maya felt its truth deep in her bones. "Then gear up. We have 12 hours to plan and prepare." Maya laid out the equipment with methodical precision, each piece checked, cleaned, and arranged in exact mission order. The familiar ritual steadied her nerves, focused her mind. Brooks spread detailed blueprints across a workbench. "Entry point here. You'll have 90 seconds to cross this exposed section." They worked through the plan step by step, contingency by contingency. Maya's muscle memory awakened as she practiced the specific movements needed, scaling walls, bypassing locks, navigating tight spaces. As evening approached, Maya stood before a mirror in full tactical gear. The black outfit felt like a second skin, comfortable in its utility. Her rifle, loaded with non-lethal rounds, hung perfectly balanced across her back. She studied her reflection. The woman who stared back wasn't the civilian Caldwell had mocked at the range. This was Phantom, focused, lethal, precise. But now those skills served a different mission. Not taking life, but reclaiming truth. Brooks appeared behind her, checking final equipment adjustments. "Remember, this isn't about revenge. It's about justice." Maya nodded, double-checking her ammunition. Every move was measured, deliberate. She had 7 minutes to change everything. 7 minutes to recover the truth that would expose Caldwell's lies. The sun set outside, painting the sky in deep purples. Maya felt the familiar pre-mission calm settle over her as she made final preparations. Her rifle, faithful companion through countless operations, waited ready. Tomorrow night, Phantom would rise again, not as a weapon, but as an instrument of truth. The moon hung like a pale ghost behind thin clouds as Maya crouched in the shadows near Fort Marshall's perimeter fence. Her black tactical gear melted into the darkness. The digital archive facility loomed ahead, a squat concrete building surrounded by motion sensors and armed patrols. She checked her watch. 01147 hours. 13 minutes until the security system reboot. Through her scope, Maya tracked the guards' movements. 2-man teams, 15-minute rotation patterns. Predictable, professional, dangerous. Her earpiece crackled softly. "Phantom, status check." Brooks's voice was barely a whisper. "In position," Maya breathed, waiting for the distraction. "Copy. Team 2 is ready at the main gate. Stand by." Maya's breathing slowed automatically into the familiar sniper rhythm. Controlled, measured, calm. Her rifle felt natural against her shoulder as she scanned the facility grounds through the high-powered scope. 01:55 hours. A distant explosion shattered the night's silence. Emergency lights flashed at the main gate as alarms blared. Maya watched the guard teams sprint toward the disturbance, leaving only skeleton security behind. "Now!" Brooks commanded. Maya moved like a shadow, crossing the open ground in quick, controlled bursts. The maintenance tunnel entrance was exactly where Brooks's intel indicated, hidden behind overgrown bushes, its rusted lock no match for her specialized tools. The tunnel air was thick with dust and decay. Maya activated her night vision goggles, revealing a narrow concrete passage stretching into darkness. Water dripped somewhere ahead, marking time like a broken metronome. She moved silently, years of training evident in every careful step. The tunnel curved gradually upward, leading beneath the main building. Her mental map tracked each turn, counting down the distance to the server room above. A sudden voice echoed from ahead. Maya froze, becoming one with the shadows. Heavy footsteps approached, a security sweep. She could hear keys jingling, radio static crackling. The guard passed within arm's reach, flashlight beams sweeping the tunnel walls. Maya held her breath, perfectly still. The beam moved past her hiding spot without pausing. She waited until the footsteps faded before continuing. 159 hours. 1 minute until system reboot. Maya reached the access panel Brooks had identified. Ancient rust fought against her multi-tool as she carefully removed the screws. The panel came free with a quiet groan, revealing a maintenance shaft leading up into the building. She secured her rifle and began climbing, moving smoothly despite the confined space. Each handhold was tested before bearing weight. Any sound could trigger the motion sensors until the reboot began. 200 hours. Right on schedule, the facility's lights flickered and died. Emergency systems hummed to life, casting red shadows through ventilation grates. Maya heard the distinctive click of security doors disengaging as backup power initiated its diagnostic cycle. 7 minutes. The countdown began. She emerged from the shaft into a utility closet, immediately orienting herself. The server room was 2 corridors away. She eased the door open, scanning for threats. A guard's radio squawked nearby. Maya pulled back as footsteps approached. 2 guards hurried past, discussing the gate explosion. She slipped into the hallway behind them, moving in their blind spot. The server room door loomed ahead. Heavy steel, biometric lock temporarily disabled by the power transition. Maya reached for the handle. "Hey! You there!" A guard emerged from a side passage, weapon raised. Maya moved instantly, closing the distance before he could fire. Her hands struck precise pressure points: throat, solar plexus, knee. The guard crumpled silently. She dragged him into a storage alcove, securing him with flex cuffs. His radio crackled with concerned voices, asking for status reports. 4 minutes remaining. The server room opened smoothly, its sophisticated security reduced to simple mechanical locks by the power diagnostic. Banks of computers hummed in the red emergency lighting. Maya moved quickly to the central terminal, plugging in the specialized drive Brooks had provided. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as the program created its hidden back door. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard, following the exact sequence Brooks had drilled into her memory. Heavy boots thundered in the hallway. The guard's missed check-in had been noticed. Maya's hands never faltered as she typed the final commands. 2 minutes left. The program completed its work. Maya pocketed the drive and moved to her exit route, an air vent Brooks had identified as her emergency escape path. The cover came free just as voices approached the server room door. She pulled herself into the vent as the door burst open. Flashlight beams swept the room below as she crawled silently through the metal passage. Her mental map guided her through the maze of ventilation shafts. The power returned with a deep hum. Security systems rebooted, locks re-engaged. Maya continued through the vents, ignoring the sweat trickling down her face. Every movement was controlled, every breath measured. She emerged on the roof as facility lights blazed back to life. Alarms began to sound. They'd discovered the unconscious guard. Maya moved quickly to her rappelling point, securing her line with practiced efficiency. Voices shouted below as she began her controlled descent down the building's dark side. Flashlight beams swept the grounds, searching for intruders. Maya's black-clad form blended perfectly with the shadows as she reached the ground. She retrieved her rifle and melted into the darkness, leaving no trace of her passage. The maintenance tunnel welcomed her back into its concealing depths as security teams scrambled above. Maya moved steadily through the tunnel, her mission accomplished. The evidence they needed was now accessible through Brooks's secure connection. But first, she had to disappear into the night, like the phantom she was trained to be. Her heart pounded with controlled intensity as she approached the tunnel exit. The real challenge was just beginning. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard as she accessed the secure terminal. The original helmet cam footage was buried deep in classified archives, but Brooks's intel was solid. She found the encrypted files exactly where expected. The flash drive hummed as it began copying the critical evidence. Maya's eyes darted between the progress bar and the door, every muscle tense. 47% complete. Her pulse quickened as voices echoed from the corridor. Suddenly, klaxons blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights strobed across the server banks. Maya's jaw clenched. Someone had triggered a silent alarm. 73% complete. Heavy boots thundered down the hallway. She drew her sidearm, maintaining perfect stillness as she tracked the approaching sounds. The door burst open. Two men in tactical gear rushed in, weapons raised. Not regular security. Their movements were too precise, too practiced. Private contractors. Maya fired twice. The first round struck a knee, the second a shoulder. Both men went down with controlled precision. Disabled, but alive. She never killed unless absolutely necessary. 89% complete. More footsteps approached. Maya positioned herself behind a server bank, using its bulk as cover. 3 more contractors entered, moving in practiced formation. "Target is armed and dangerous," one whispered into his radio. "Engaging now." Maya waited until they spread out, then struck. Her first shot caught the leader in his gun hand. As he dropped his weapon, she rolled to a new position. The others opened fire, bullets sparking off servers. The drive beeped. Download complete. Maya grabbed it while returning fire. One contractor took a round to the thigh, collapsing with a grunt. The last man charged her position. She met him with fluid, hand-to-hand precision. Block, strike, sweep. He was good, but Maya was better. She redirected his momentum, sending him crashing into a rack of computers. A precise strike to the temple put him down. More contractors poured through the door. Maya took cover as bullets filled the air. She counted 6 distinct weapons. The server room became a storm of gunfire and ricochets. Moving like smoke, Maya used the server banks for concealment. Her shots were economic, deliberate. A kneecap here, a shoulder there. Each round found its mark with surgical accuracy. "She's picking us apart," someone shouted. "Fall back and regroup." Maya seized the moment, bursting from cover. Her rifle sang twice more. 2 contractors stumbled, clutching non-lethal wounds. The others retreated into the hallway. She reloaded smoothly, checking her ammunition. 3 magazines left. The flash drive was secure in her tactical vest. Now came the hard part, getting out. Maya moved to the doorway, using a mirror to check the corridor. 4 contractors had taken defensive positions at both ends. More would be coming. She pulled a flashbang from her belt. The device bounced perfectly around the corner. Maya turned away as it detonated with thunderous force. Disoriented shouts filled the hallway. She moved fast, rifle leading the way. 2 contractors stumbled blindly. Quick shots to legs and arms neutralized them efficiently. The others recovered faster than expected. Bullets chased Maya as she dove through a doorway. Glass shattered around her. She rolled to her feet, ignoring the cuts on her arms. A contractor rushed her position. Maya met him with devastating close-quarters efficiency. Block the strike, trap the arm, redirect the force. He hit the ground hard. A precise kick ensured he stayed there. More gunfire forced her back. Maya's breathing remained steady as she assessed options. The main exit was certainly covered. She'd need an alternate route. Movement caught her eye. A contractor trying to flank her position. Maya's rifle cracked once. He fell, clutching his shoulder. She used the moment to sprint down a side corridor. Bullets sparked off walls around her. A round grazed her left arm, leaving a burning trail across skin. Maya ignored the pain, maintaining her pace. She rounded a corner and found two more contractors waiting. Time slowed as training took over. Maya's first shot struck a knee. Her second found a weapon hand. Both men collapsed as she vaulted over them. The exit was ahead, a maintenance door leading to her tunnel route. Maya reached it just as more contractors appeared behind her. She returned fire one-handed while working the door's lock. A bullet struck her tactical vest with stunning force. Another creased her thigh. The door finally opened. Maya tossed her last flashbang behind her as she moved through. The explosion bought precious seconds. She sprinted down the tunnel, injury forgotten in the surge of adrenaline. Gunfire echoed behind her, but the shots were wild, unsighted. Maya's night vision revealed the tunnel exit ahead. She could hear vehicles arriving above, reinforcements responding to the alarm. The flash drive felt heavy against her chest, its vital evidence secured. Blood trickled down her arm as she reached the exit. Multiple wounds made themselves known, but none were critical. Maya had accomplished her mission. Now she just had to disappear into the darkness beyond. Maya's legs trembled as she stumbled up Brooks' secluded driveway. The sky was turning pale gray, dawn approaching silently through the trees. Blood had soaked through her makeshift bandages, and every movement sent waves of pain through her battered body. Brooks was already waiting at the door, face tight with concern. She rushed forward to support Maya's weight, helping her inside. "I got it," Maya managed through gritted teeth, patting the flash drive secured in her vest. "Original footage. All of it." "Let's get you patched up first," Brooks insisted, leading Maya to the kitchen. "No time." Maya shook her head. "We need to upload this now, before Caldwell realizes what's missing." Brooks knew better than to argue. She helped Maya to the study, where a secure laptop waited, already configured for anonymous uploading. Maya's hands shook slightly as she inserted the drive, but her eyes remained focused and alert despite the pain. "Multiple gunshot wounds," Brooks muttered, examining Maya's injuries while the files transferred. "These need proper medical attention." "Later," Maya said firmly, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Look at this." The original helmet cam footage played in crystal clarity. It showed the full context of that fateful mission. The enemy combatant, clearly armed, clearly threatening American forces. The moment Maya took the shot was clean, professional, completely justified. And here, Maya continued, opening another file. Intelligence reports confirming Caldwell's son's willing defection. Documents showing Caldwell buried the truth to protect his reputation. Brooks leaned closer, scanning rapidly. Financial records, too. Bribes, cover-ups, systematic discrimination against minorities under his command. "He's been busy." "Upload everything," Maya said. "Every major news outlet, social media platform, military watchdog groups. Let the truth speak for itself." Brooks's fingers moved swiftly, distributing the files through secure channels. Within minutes, the evidence began appearing online, first as isolated posts, then spreading like wildfire as people realized what they were seeing. Maya slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally catching up. Brooks quickly gathered medical supplies, cleaning and bandaging the worst wounds while they watched the reaction unfold on multiple screens. Caldwell corruption trending already, Brooks noted, wrapping Maya's arm. Over 50,000 mentions in the last 10 minutes. Major news sites began picking up the story. Headlines appeared faster than they could track. "Breaking: Classified footage reveals General Caldwell's deception. Documents expose years of military corruption and cover-ups. Legendary sniper Maya Thompson vindicated by leaked evidence. Social media exploded with outrage. Veterans groups shared the footage, confirming its authenticity. Military experts analyzed the mission video frame by frame, praising Maya's textbook execution under fire. "Your name's being cleared in real time," Brooks said softly, finishing the bandages. "Look at the comments." Thousands of supporters posted messages of solidarity. Other soldiers came forward with their own stories of discrimination under Caldwell's command. The tide of public opinion shifted dramatically as the full scope of his deception became clear. Maya watched silently as her vindication unfolded. After so many months of carrying this burden alone, seeing the truth finally emerge was overwhelming. Her hands trembled slightly as she read message after message of support. "Hospital next," Brooks insisted, noting Maya's increasing pallor. "You've done enough for now." Across town, Caldwell sat in his office, enjoying his morning coffee and reviewing reports. His phone buzzed with an urgent message. Then another, and another. Frowning, he opened his laptop. His face drained of color as he saw the headlines. The footage, the documents. All of it, exposed for the world to see. His hands shook as he clicked through news sites, social media feeds, military forums. Everyone was sharing it. Everyone was talking about it. His carefully constructed facade was crumbling in real time. Caldwell tried calling his contacts, but no one answered. He watched helplessly as his reputation imploded. Years of corruption and lies laid bare for public scrutiny. The evidence was undeniable. His own words and actions condemned him. More messages flooded in. His superiors demanding explanations. Reporters requesting comments. Former subordinates speaking out against him. The career he'd built through manipulation and deceit was collapsing around him. He slumped in his chair, coffee forgotten, as the brutal reality sank in. There would be no escaping this. No way to spin or hide the truth any longer. Maya Thompson, the soldier he'd tried so hard to destroy, had finally exposed him for what he truly was. Caldwell's hands trembled as he shoved classified files into his briefcase. Sweat trickled down his neck, staining his pristine uniform collar. The morning sun cast long shadows through his office windows, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding within. "Sir, they're coming," Captain Lucas said from the doorway, his voice steady but his face tense. "Military police are already at the main gate." "Shut up and help me pack these files," Caldwell snapped, yanking open another drawer. Papers scattered across the floor as he dumped contents haphazardly into boxes. His perfectly organized office, once a testament to his control, now looked like a tornado had torn through it. "I can't do that, sir." Lucas stood straighter, hands clasped behind his back. "And I've already secured copies of everything you're trying to destroy." Caldwell froze, turning slowly to face his aide. "You... what?" "I've been documenting everything for months," Lucas continued, meeting Caldwell's gaze unflinchingly. "The racist comments during staff meetings, the discriminatory promotion denials, the falsified performance reviews for minority officers." "You treacherous little..." Caldwell lunged forward, but Lucas didn't flinch. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Caldwell's eyes darted to the window, then to his private door. Panic replaced his usual arrogant composure. "General Caldwell!" A commanding voice boomed from the main office entrance. "This is Colonel Martinez with military police. We have a warrant for your arrest." Caldwell grabbed his briefcase and bolted for his private exit. He yanked the door open and found himself face to face with two MPs, weapons drawn. "Stand down, General," one ordered firmly. Camera flashes exploded through the windows. Somehow, the media had already gathered outside the building. Caldwell stumbled backward, cornered like an animal. Colonel Martinez entered with 4 more MPs. "General Richard Caldwell, you are under arrest for multiple charges, including abuse of power, corruption, falsification of military records, and conspiracy to commit defamation." Caldwell's face contorted with rage as they approached with handcuffs. "This is ridiculous! I'm a decorated general. You can't, we can, and we are." Martinez cut him off. "You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." The MPs moved forward efficiently, securing Caldwell's wrists behind his back. His briefcase clattered to the floor, spilling papers everywhere. The proud general who had terrorized subordinates for years now stood helpless, his carefully maintained image crumbling before dozens of witnesses. Outside, reporters pressed against security barriers, cameras rolling as the MPs led Caldwell through the building's main entrance. The morning sun felt harsh and exposing, like a spotlight on his shame. "General Caldwell, is it true you covered up your son's defection? Did you orchestrate the smear campaign against Maya Thompson? What about the allegations of systematic racism under your command?" Questions pelted him like bullets, each one striking another blow to his reputation. Caldwell kept his head down, but couldn't hide from the countless phones and cameras recording his disgrace. At the bottom of the steps, Captain Lucas stood before a group of reporters, speaking clearly into their microphones. General Caldwell maintained 2 sets of personnel files, one official, one containing his real opinions of minority service members. "I have copies of both, along with recordings of his racist remarks during private meetings." Caldwell jerked against the MP's grip. "Lucas, you lying bastard!" But Lucas continued, his voice carrying across the crowd. "He specifically targeted Maya Thompson because she represented everything he hated. A black woman who excelled in what he considered a white man's profession. When she unknowingly killed his traitorous son in combat, it gave him the excuse he needed for revenge." The reporters surged forward, shouting more questions. Lucas answered each one calmly, methodically dismantling the carefully constructed facade Caldwell had maintained for decades. "He ordered me to alter performance reviews, deny promotions, and create false disciplinary reports for any minority officer who showed too much promise. He called it maintaining standards, but it was pure racism." Caldwell was forced to stand there, handcuffed and helpless, as his former aide exposed years of corruption and prejudice. His face flushed deep red, veins pulsing in his neck as he watched his legacy dissolve. "Get him in the vehicle," Martinez ordered, noting Caldwell's increasing agitation. The MPs guided him toward the waiting military police car. Caldwell caught his reflection in the window, his medals gleaming meaninglessly on his chest, his shoulders slumped in defeat, his face twisted with impotent rage. More military vehicles arrived, filled with investigators coming to secure evidence. Caldwell watched through the car window as they entered his office building, knowing they would find even more proof of his crimes. The same officers he had belittled and discriminated against now walked past, heads held high, as he sat handcuffed in the back of a police car. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. "All those years of looking down on people," Lucas said, approaching the car one last time. "Now everyone's looking down at you." The car door slammed shut on Caldwell's sputtered response. Through the window, he watched his world continue to unravel. Decades of carefully accumulated power and prestige, destroyed in a single morning. His name would now be synonymous with corruption and racism, his medals and achievements forever tainted by the truth of how he'd achieved them. The military police car pulled away from the curb, carrying Caldwell toward justice. The crowd's cameras followed until he disappeared around the corner, documenting every second of his final, humiliating exit from Fort Reynolds. The military tribunal room hummed with tense anticipation. Morning light filtered through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. General Richard Caldwell stood at attention before the panel of senior officers, his uniform still crisp, but his shoulders noticeably slumped. The proud bearing that had once intimidated subordinates was gone, replaced by the defeated posture of a man facing his reckoning. Maya Thompson sat quietly in the back row beside Colonel Brooks. Her face remained carefully neutral, but her fingers gripped the wooden bench tightly. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of depositions, evidence reviews, and witness statements. Now, finally, it was coming to an end. "General Richard Caldwell," the lead judge's voice rang out clearly, "this tribunal has reviewed extensive evidence of your misconduct, abuse of power, and systematic discrimination throughout your command." Caldwell's jaw clenched visibly. The man who once commanded rooms with his presence now looked small and old under the harsh fluorescent lights. "The evidence presented is overwhelming and deeply disturbing," the judge continued. "Testimony from multiple officers has revealed a pattern of racist behavior spanning decades. You manipulated performance reviews, blocked promotions, and created hostile environments for minority service members under your command." Maya's mind flashed back to countless subtle dismissals, lost paperwork, and undermined achievements she'd witnessed during her service. Each incident had seemed isolated at the time, but now the pattern was clear to everyone. Furthermore, the judge's tone hardened, your attempt to destroy the reputation of Maya Thompson through falsified evidence and manufactured scandal represents a grotesque abuse of power. You exploited military resources and violated multiple regulations in your vendetta against her. Brooks reached over and squeezed Maya's hand briefly. They both remembered the dark days when the doctored video had threatened to destroy everything Maya had worked for. Your actions have not only damaged individual careers, but have undermined the very principles of merit and equality that our modern military strives to uphold, the judge declared. The fact that you used your son's death as justification for targeting Ms. Thompson while concealing his willing defection to enemy forces demonstrates a disturbing level of personal corruption. Caldwell's face flushed red. Several rows ahead, Captain Lucas sat straight-backed, his testimony having provided crucial evidence of Caldwell's schemes. "This tribunal finds you guilty of all charges," the judge announced. "You are hereby stripped of your rank and all military honors. Your retirement benefits are revoked. You will serve 10 years in military prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Caldwell swayed slightly but remained standing. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "your name will be removed from all honorary plaques and installations. Your official record will reflect the true nature of your service, not as a decorated leader, but as someone who betrayed the core values of this institution." 2 MPs stepped forward as an officer approached Caldwell. With mechanical precision, they began removing the medals and insignia from his uniform. Each metallic clink echoed in the silent room as decorations dropped into a waiting box. Maya watched without satisfaction or triumph. She felt only a deep, quiet relief. Not for herself, but for every service member who would no longer face Caldwell's discrimination and abuse. "Do you have any final statement before sentencing is carried out?" the judge asked. Caldwell's voice came out hoarse but bitter. "Everything I did was to maintain standards, to protect this institution from—" "That's enough!" the judge cut him off sharply. "Your standards were nothing but prejudice wrapped in protocol. You're dismissed." The MPs moved to escort Caldwell out. As they passed the gallery, his eyes locked briefly with Maya's. She met his gaze steadily, neither flinching nor gloating. He looked away first. The room began to empty slowly. Reporters hurried out to file their stories, while officers and witnesses gathered in small groups, discussing the historic nature of the proceedings. Maya remained seated, letting the crowd thin out. Brooks waited patiently beside her, understanding her need for a moment of quiet reflection. "You okay?" Brooks asked softly after a few minutes. Maya nodded slowly. "It doesn't feel real yet." "It's real," Brooks assured her. "And it's over." They stood together, gathering their things. The morning sun had shifted, warming the wooden benches where they'd sat through weeks of testimony. "You know," Brooks said as they walked toward the exit, "this case will change things. Other officers like him won't be able to hide behind rank anymore." Maya thought about all the young soldiers who would serve without facing the barriers she had encountered. "That's worth more than any personal vindication." They paused at the courthouse steps, breathing in the crisp air. The media had already dispersed, chasing the next story. The quiet felt cleansing after weeks of chaos. "Breakfast," Brooks suggested with a small smile. "I know a place that makes great waffles." Maya felt the tension in her shoulders finally begin to ease. Waffles sound perfect. They descended the steps together, two soldiers who had fought for justice not with weapons, but with truth. Behind them, the doors of the tribunal room closed on Caldwell's era of discrimination and abuse. Ahead lay a military moving slowly but surely toward the equality it promised to uphold. The autumn breeze rustled through the American flag as it flew at half-mast outside the newly constructed Phantom Veterans Memorial Center. The modern building's glass facade reflected the morning sun, its clean lines a stark contrast to the traditional military architecture surrounding it on Fort Reynolds's grounds. Maya Thompson stood at the podium, her dark suit crisp and professional, hands resting lightly on either side of the microphone. Behind her, rows of chairs held a diverse crowd. Veterans in dress uniforms, civilians in formal attire, and a new generation of soldiers standing at parade rest along the perimeter. Colonel Brooks sat in the front row, beaming with quiet pride. Beside her, Captain Lucas, now a key ally in reforming military culture, nodded encouragingly. The faces before Maya represented everything she had fought for: accountability, equality, and the chance for every soldier to serve with dignity. "Today," Maya began, her voice steady and clear, "we dedicate this center not just to veterans, but to truth itself." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the audience. "For too long, some of our bravest soldiers have served in silence, their achievements dismissed, their struggles ignored, their voices muted by those who claim to lead them." In the crowd, several older veterans nodded knowingly. Their own stories of discrimination and prejudice had emerged during Caldwell's trial, creating a watershed moment for military reform. "This center," Maya continued, gesturing to the building behind her, "will serve as more than a memorial. It will be a place of action. Here, we will provide training, support, and, most importantly, a platform for those who have been silenced to speak their truth." The morning sun climbed higher, warming the gathered crowd. Maya removed her suit jacket, revealing her old combat gloves tucked into her belt, a reminder of her days as Phantom that she now wore openly. "When I first joined the service," she said, her voice taking on a more personal tone, "I believed that excellence would be enough, that if I became the best, the most accurate, the most disciplined, the most dedicated, it would overcome any prejudice." A sad smile crossed her face. "I became legendary as Phantom, but even that wasn't enough to protect me from those who saw only my gender and my race." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. Many had followed Maya's story closely in the media, watching as she transformed from a wronged soldier into a symbol of resistance against institutional discrimination. But today isn't about dwelling on past injustices. Maya straightened her shoulders. It's about ensuring those injustices stop here. This center will offer advanced tactical training, especially in marksmanship and stealth operations. But more than that, it will teach something no amount of range time can provide: the courage to stand up for what's right, even when standing alone. She pulled her combat gloves from her belt, holding them up for all to see. These gloves have seen more battles than I care to count. They've steadied my aim in sandstorms and snowstorms. They've helped me save lives, and yes, sometimes take them. But their greatest service came when they helped me grip the truth and refuse to let go. The audience sat in rapt attention as Maya described the center's programs: mentorship for minority service members, legal support for those facing discrimination, and advanced combat training open to all who qualified, regardless of background. "We name this place Phantom," she explained, "not because of my old call sign, but because phantoms have a way of refusing to stay buried. The truth is like that. You can try to hide it, but it will always find its way into the light." As Maya concluded her speech, the audience rose in a standing ovation. Veterans with decades of service wiped tears from their eyes. Young recruits stood straighter, inspired by the possibility of serving in a military that truly valued all its members. The formal ribbon cutting followed, with Maya and Brooks together wielding the ceremonial scissors. As photographers captured the moment, Maya couldn't help but notice a small figure hovering at the edge of the crowd. A young black girl, maybe 12 years old, watching the proceedings with undisguised admiration. After the ceremony, as the crowd mingled and toured the facility, the girl finally worked up the courage to approach. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair in neat braids, and her eyes shone with determination. "Ms. Thompson," her voice was barely above a whisper, I want to learn to shoot like you. Is it true you're teaching classes here?" Maya knelt down to the girl's level, studying her earnest face. "What's your name?" "Jasmine," the girl replied, standing a little straighter. "Well, Jasmine," Maya smiled, reaching for her combat gloves. "The junior marksmanship program starts next month. But first," she held out the well-worn gloves. "These might be a little big for you now, but you'll grow into them." Jasmine's eyes widened as she carefully took the gloves, handling them like precious artifacts. "Really? But these are yours." "They were," Maya nodded. "Now they're yours. Sometimes we all need a little help holding steady while we find our aim." I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.